Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the MSP Initiative, MSP Talk. Today is April 4th, 2024. Like, we're in Q2. Did you guys realize that? Yeah, buckle up. The calendar's moving quickly. Are you moving with it? Hopefully. We're going to get some housekeeping out of the way. Then we'll get on to the good stuff as we normally do. So, sorry if you've heard this 1,000 times before. If you actually follow the show, MSP Initiative.com. This is pretty much where we post everything we do. This very session is being recorded. We will upload it later on in podcasts, in YouTube, in video format. You'll find also all of the links to all of those channels under sessions at mspinitiative.com. Like us, follow us, share us. That keeps all the arrows pointed in the right direction. Coming up, not next week, but the week after, we will be doing our educational event called MSP Community Minds, April 17th and 18th in Nashville. If you're an MSP, this event costs absolutely nothing for you to register and attend, other than actually getting there. That you'll have to do on your own. But if you can get to Nashville, we'd love to have you for 2 days of absolute education. This is not a normal trade show. We have a bunch of MSPs that are going to be on panels talking about topics that actually matter. These are not people who work for companies that are trying to sell you something. These are people like you who have maybe figured out a few things and they want to share the knowledge, right? So this is a chance for you to hear from your peers. Then we have some workshops. So like morning time, we do panels, MSP panels. Afternoons, we do expert workshops where we bring in people from different genres, legal, marketing, operations, all sorts of stuff, and effectively do 2-hour workshops with you. Again, we want you to walk out with something tangible. As for as many trade shows and conferences I've ever been to, the idea is that you should probably think about doing X, Y, and Z. No. How about this is how you do X, Y, and Z? So this is what we're trying to do. So you'll find the agenda, the speakers, the workshops are all on mspinitiative.com under Community Minds. Again, event absolutely does not cost you $3.99, $4.99, $9.99, $12.99 to register and show up. We will feed you. We will educate you. We will network you. Take advantage, because otherwise, why are we doing this event? I digress. Then we have like all of our community block parties that we do, after parties, community MSP block parties, we like to call them, throughout the year. We already completed our very first one of the year was in Dallas last week with our friends from Enable and their Empower event. They switch off and on between the U.S. and Europe every other year. Last year was Prague. This year was Dallas. Next year, I heard it's Berlin. So we love the guys and girls over at Enable. Next, coming up are 2 events happening basically the same week of the year in June. We have PAX 8 Beyond Denver, which is turning into one of the premier events in the industry for sure. And then we have the Kaseya DataCon in Dublin. So I guess depending on which side of the ocean you're on, you would go to one or the other. But we are doing block parties at both of these. So that, if you're interested in joining in, which most of the time you are, definitely jump on and make sure you register ahead of time if you're going to either one of those events. By the way, as an MSP, 100% free. Did I say free? For you to actually register and join these. Probably a good deal, right? You don't have to pay for your own drinks that night. I digress. So check them out. Register ahead of time. We have some community offers, which are just deals or hookups from people, companies around the industry that you may or may not take advantage of. Awesome if you do. And then lastly is our industry calendar, which is a labor of love. It's like 300 events throughout the year, and we're already in April. And these events keep on popping up there. I know I keep on sending them to our guru behind the scenes, Jen, who puts them on there as we add new ones. But effectively, this is just our way of collecting all of that homework for you, that if you really want to spend like weeks and weeks and weeks on the road, you could. Probably not the best thing for your business, but they are there. So all that being said, mspinitiative.com, there it all is. Hopefully that's good intel for you. So today we're bringing on not just a new person onto the show, but a new company behind that person who have never been on before. So we're bringing on Carlson from Cork, which, should be an interesting story because I've been kind of following these guys for a little bit, and it's kind of intriguing. Well, I'm sure we'll get into it. But Carlson, welcome to the show. I like to give everybody, especially if this is the first time, to the party, like give them a little bit of background on you, right? How did you get to where you are today? I'm
Yeah.
sure it's an interesting journey. I'd love to hear.
Well, great. Well, thank you for welcoming me to the show. Now, I'm kind of disappointed though. I didn't get invited to all this party that you're talking about. I mean, you started the first 5 minutes of all this great party. I'm like, wait a minute, like, why am I getting invited to these parties? Come on.
Oh, there. Hey, that's why we open up the show
Good.
with those. You're invited to all of those, by the way. Feel free to
Fun.
join us.
Party is always
Um,
fun, right? Especially with our MSP community. So, give you a little
we
background about myself, how I ended up at Cork. Kind of working back was quite interesting. So, prior to Cork, I spent about 2 years in the channel business. A small little company you might have heard of called Datto, little Datto Blue World, little tiny guys there. But prior to that, though, leading up to that journey, I have somewhat quite an interesting career. Like you take a look, I got into okay, starting early day, my own startup, enterprise software, and the other one that everyone wants to talk about, and we can go back, video game industry. Company called Activision Blizzard. We
Oh
work in World of
yeah,
Warcraft, Call of Duty. Then I stayed in that industry for 10 years. Then went into toy business, Mattel. Everybody heard of Barbie, might have recently, Hot Wheels, all kind of fun stuff in that. Then I got into restaurant business. And after that, I ended up in the channel business. But in all those cases, one thing that is common to that is the reality, my role has always been how do we make it easier to do business with? How do we break things that is hey, he's been doing it this way for the last 20 years. How do we break the mold, restart from ground up? How will we reimagine the process? A lot of what I actually was doing data was thinking about with all this great product, how do we make it easier to do business with? How do we make it simplified? As a chief digital officer there, we're talking a lot of MSP, looking at what the next generation product could look like and coming together. After you might have heard Datto's acquisition, we move on there. Coming out of the other end, I had an
definitely heard of it.
opportunity to get a regroup with some of I would say I call them the Avengers of Datto's. I got a call from Austin McCord and say, hey, we're looking at this new opportunity. How can we bring financial coverage? At the beginning was kind of like the cyber insurance industry in general. Well, how do we like break that and do something unique, but bring a product that the channel business can sell and do? I mean, that's kind of how Cork was found. I mean, there's, because we were sitting there like there got to be something great. And we got put together some of a team together to bring this channel only product to the market. That's kind of how it ended up here in Cork.
Wow, you've had quite the journey. I feel like you've tried a little bit of everything: restaurant,
Yeah.
toys, video games. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun because I got to one things I've learned right in every industry. One things that the giant always come down to. I got this figured out. I'm happy with it, but I'm sure every one of the folks in the channel always know once a company got big, guess what? Simple changes take. Can you file a ticket? Can you call this person? It goes in the priority list. Something simple, even changing the color of a switch would take days and months. So my role has always been the first guy that brought in, and you might have heard of it, they call it digital transformation, disruption, right? My role has always been going, can you relook at what we do, break it, reboot it? Like my early days in gaming was interesting. We did I don't know, for those gamers out there, you might have heard of a small game called World of Warcraft, right? That little World of Warcraft game, my job, my team built the foundation for BattleNet, which becomes that single sign-on that got across. But it was a small little project that said, how can we imagine, make it easier for gamer to converse, make it easier for gamer to get back into the game of a different game from the same company. Every company I've been to, I've been assigned to unique things to make it better. When I got into the channel business, the same exact thing. Data, we got a lot of different great product, but how do we make it simple, easier to do business with the MSP channel? How do you, so to that, I got to understand what they do, but how do we make it one simple click and make things work? So taking a lot of methodology into Pork World, that's what we brought to market. It's unique and fun. And my wife would say, you can't seem to stay in the same industry more than 3 years. And I go, no, because by the time that we figure out a new way of doing business, I'm on to the next one, right? So it's kind of fun to jump from industry to industry.
Now, hey, listen, that actually gives you pretty unique background, right? Because like I'm sure things that every business, just like every MSP is at a different maturity level, every industry is at a different maturity level too, right? So like some of the stuff you probably ran into 2 or 3 or 4 gigs ago may finally be bubbling up somewhere
Yeah.
else, right? So like that's kind of cool. And we always
Well,
say that sometimes when you're looking for new people to put into the seat, when they have like sometimes people in other industries, like for some people, like hey, if I took somebody out of hospitality and put them into
Yep.
the chair, they may be really good, right?
Yeah.
But like they're not technical people, but they know how to talk to people.
Yep. I always tell people, right? You do business with people, not with the product. The
Yeah.
product comes along, like I say, Georgie and I, what, we're gonna get along. Guess what? We're gonna do business together. We'll figure it out, right? And what's easily interesting, right? The funny part, you probably hospitality. My last major gig, right, was in the restaurant space. Was a company called Jollibee, and we own 18 different brands. So I oversee about 1,500 people worldwide. Have to deal with technology breakdown. I mean, that is probably the most. We have 3,500 restaurants. Over 80% of them run 24/7. So you can imagine the amount of nightmare that you have to deal with, that on-prem, all kind of things. But one thing was interesting. That was at the beginning of my channel experience. Oddly enough, across 35 different countries, we actually hire local MSP that work for us, wearing our shirt to go into the franchisee location. And one of the brands that we managed and owned was Smashburger, Coffee Bean, and Tea Leaf. Well, we don't have enough IT resources in the house. Guess what we do? We partner with local MSP. I go, hey, can I have you wear my shirt, walk into my franchisee location? Here's a protocol. That was really interesting. That was kind of really the beginning of my journey of working, where MSP, I was a client for the MSP and they served my franchisee. So when I actually got the opportunity to join Datto, it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's natural because I actually understood the ecosystem. It wasn't like, wait, do you have a national branch? No, man. There's like MSP ecosystem with each zip code, each state zip code, even down to you know within the same zip code, you're gonna have a couple dozen of folks with different skill set that you pair them together. So that was quite interesting that you do interact the MSP ecosystem because I would say if I've never been in the hospitality side, I don't think I would ever interact with well how does MSP ecosystem work? It's very unique and I love the system. So when I got a chance to, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go deeper into the dungeon here.
I mean, that's all. I mean, that's a really good story, right? Hey, I was a customer to MSPs, then I turned into a vendor to MSPs, and now, in a slightly different way, you're in the same kind of boat. But like, it's really nice to hear people that actually understand it, because a lot of companies, especially people who have come downstream from like enterprise,
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever really understand it. I feel like they
No,
just kind of
they
barely
don't.
get there.
I talked to a lot of different, investors, community folks, different people in the software business. I'm guilty of that, right? My early days, I was in enterprise software, right? In my mind, that back then, right? This is a confession booth now, right? It's like back then when you tell me MSP, I think they're reseller. I think they're just, IBM is MSP. They are effectively, but the reality is that as I grew in my career, especially when I got the hospitality side, it really turned 180. It's like, wait a minute, MSP is not IBM, guys. Sorry. So it's funny now I became right, know what MSP really means. So when somebody comes like, oh, I know MSP, IBM, I'll be like, oh, you knucklehead, you got way to go there. You just offended me and my entire community out there. But it's to your point, it's not an easy like you have to experience it to know what MSP really means. At least that's kind of how I've seen it.
No, 100% right. So give us the 30,000 foot idea on why did they start Cork
Yeah.
and what are you out to solve?
Yeah, so pretty simply said, right? So if you take a look at today, uh, we know the cyber world is ever changing, right? Cyber every what second, every fraction of a second, and then with AI involved, guess what? The bad actor is not giving up. They're going to move faster and faster on it, right? That's an ever changing environment. That's a digital environment. When we took a look at the problem, the problem we were trying to solve was like we actually went out and talked to about 2 dozen MSP and say, what is the white space? What is keeping you up at night? And they said, look, here's reality. I'm doing some of the best security service for my end client. I'm using some of the best technology stack to prevent things from happening. But when something happened, it's not an if, it's when something happened, it get to the other side, the right of boom, as Ryan Weeks always remind me, the right of boom happened. Guess what? The table turnaround is the insured company pointing finger at me for not patching. Oh, your team said you have MFA on, but somehow I found this one irrelevant user who didn't have it on. So therefore the claim is reduced. And guess what? At the end, the MSP look bad in the client. That's one. Second was they go, well, it would be great if we could offer some kind of protection around the service that we offer. And on top of that, really helping the client to become so I can continue to be the hero for the end client. So we went and took a look at it and we say, okay, well, why can't we do that in the insurance industry today, right? Just basic question. Well, then you end up finding the cyber insurance industry today are underwriting the risk with a analog technology called form. Long survey, you do a checkbox on it, yes, no, right? It's a analog, but in digital form called PDF. But the moment they underwrite that risk, guess what? One fraction of a second later, the environment changed. So for that matter, in the next year, when they don't talk to you, what happened in that place? Plenty of things
Everything.
could change, and everything would have changed, right? So when we look at that, the fundamental problem we want to solve is this: one, what if the underwriting of that risk is done truly digitally? So there's really true correlation between the actual environment risk to that. Second to that is, well, what if instead of just recovery, we can actually help protect, meaning that prevent it from happening before it all happens. Third, make it a channel exclusive product. Only channel team can sell them. That's really where the core of the problem we came to solve. And Cork, we ended up putting together some of the best team player. You might have heard a couple of names, Ryan Weeks. I said, I need someone who knows security. Ryan, you might not, you might get some free time now. Let's sit together, figure out what can we do to create this. And then Ryan said, it's like, look, great, there's a recovery product that we can call, warranty that MSP can resell. But let's make sure that we have a platform that connect into the security system, make it super simple to connect, and we protect and alert, right? So that the moment that we see a leading indicator to a potential ransom down the road, flag it. Guys, make this change based on the CI's control framework. It's a pretty, it's a pretty unique product where what we created now is fundamentally is two pieces. Now there's a platform that connects, plug right into the MSP environment, the current security stack. Old days, I would say everything should be data, but the reality is it's a mixed world. So I think we support about 35,000 permutation of combination RMM, EDR environment. Using those, it takes less than 5 minutes to plug in. We now start monitoring all the client environment continuously.
Hmm.
Then second to that is that continuous monitoring is what we call active loss prevention. When we see a leading indicator, there's certain things happening, you get a flag. I'll take an example. Your favorite sweater that you have, when you see a little thread, you want to pull it. When you pull it, that thing falls apart. I'll go put a knot against it. Third, in the case something does happen, we have an element called a warranty, right? Warranty, think of a coverage of warranting the performance of our platform to prevent it from happening. And that warranty is actually a product that MSP can resell and make a market on it. So it's essentially net new MRR for them. That's the birth of Cork, and kind of the key element that would come into play. So it's quite a unique product. We spent a lot of time on it. We spent almost 1 full year in stealth putting the product together before we launched the market late, well, actually, June of last year. So,
All right. So let me rewind.
yep,
So this plays in the lane of cyber insurance, but it's as a warranty, not a traditional insurance policy.
correct. It complements and work with cyber insurance if your end client has one.
Okay. So if they don't have one, this is a way for an MSP to offer.
Standalone. Yep.
Okay. But if they do have one, I guess
Yep.
part of the problem is, and as everybody's following this, like it changes every I feel like
Yep.
6 months. They keep on excluding
Yep.
from what's actually covered
Correct.
on the policy, right? It's like turning
Yep.
into a big Swiss cheese. So this could come in and actually fill some of the gaps.
Mm. Yep.
Okay.
So another way to think of it this way, when we start talking about a warranty versus insurance, there's been a lot of like heated debate, right? You've probably seen it enough. And I've
Yeah.
been a couple podcasts already with some insurance folks. At the end of every conversation was, oh, wait, it's actually warranty and insurance, not or. It's not versus. Think of it this way. When you buy a brand new car,
Mm-hmm.
that car comes with warranty.
Yeah.
Warranty the
2 year,
functionality of the
24,000.
powertrain, the engine, and such, right? Um, you also going to buy car insurance on it because you got to protect yourself from all the knuckleheads out there who will run you over, or somebody who steal your car, whatever that is, right? Well, you look at the cyber world, there's cyber insurance. There are either great services, I would call it the MSP community offer. That is the vehicle that you buy. Well, why wouldn't you have a warranty service that wraps around that? To us, that's really where the cyber warranty comes in. And the play to that is, in the case that client that don't have cyber insurance, the warranty at least give you some level of coverage against ransom, fund transfer, business email compromise. But if you have cyber insurance, guess what? We fill in that gap so that even if your insurance policy comes back that says, oh, your deductible is $30,000. And because of this, your team did have one client, one user that did not have MFA on, we're going to reduce your payout by 30%. Well, guess what? In that case, our warranty goes in and fill that gap. So that way, where you can now offer as an MSP to your end client, you become the hero to help them fill the gap, have $0 out of pocket. That's really kind of by design, was knowing that, because we figured that out very quickly when we first started reviewing, I think, 200 plus cyber insurance policy. I was losing my mind. Those things was like 60 pages long each, and there's no one that is alike out of the 200 plus. But what's common is that exclusion clause is like Swiss cheese. And you map those things out, you could say, I could have, like, for example, one policy I reviewed, in fact, 2 weeks ago. It's a $5 million policy. You're like, sweet, this is great. This is me, and the premium was like nothing. I mean, it was way, but if you read through it, all this exclusion at the end there's a $75,000 retention, which is deductible. But for a ransom event, it will pay you up to $100,000 within this $5 million policy. So now the math pretty much says if you got ransom, let's just say is a $200,000 event, you're only going to get $25,000 because there's a sub limit cap. So when we look at that, when we see things like that, that's really where we design the warranty, is really to make sure that the client stay whole when something like this happens.
Wow. That, by the way, that makes that $5 million policy seem not that great.
Well, they did say though is a per event sub limit, so that means you can get ransom like multiple times to make up to 5 million. But the reality is that it's unrealistic. But it's pretty scary that when you think about those policy, and that's why part of what we do is, when we partner with our MSP partner, they go, hey, I got a client that got cyber insurance policy. Send it this way. I got full-time insurance guy that will read through the thing, come back, say, here are a couple of things you might want to let your client know. Your $5 million policy is not really $5 million. That's why you're paying nothing for it. FYI. Now again, right? MSP become the hero. Now they're given a new tool set to help their client to be better, become stickier in that case.
Yeah, that's, I mean, underinsured. I mean, it's probably the right way to say it. Yeah, and here's the problem: non-technical people are selling their cyber insurance policies, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's just an add-on for them, and unfortunately, I know a lot of MSPs are not, legal enough in their knowledge to read through the ors or if or but or
Yep.
all that stuff for sure. Okay, so like, every MSP is different though, right? Their stack's different, the size of their customers different, the data that the customer has on the other side is valued differently. So like, how do you factor that into this digital calculation now versus the analog one that you were talking about before? Like, do you take into account not just the technology that's in place, because it sounds like you've built a ton of integrations, which is great, but then, like, what about what the MSP's makeup is, and then what about their end customer? Like, how do you factor all of that?
Yeah, I'll take a couple of dimensions. I think to answer your question, if you take a look at our platform, there's two category of things that we monitor. I call it thing one and thing two, right? Thing one is endpoint related data, right? Thing two is user behavior and data in that place. The question you ask is probably the more relevant to the user behavior data, right? Typically, let's say you take a traditional insurance form and questionnaire. They
Mm-hmm.
will ask you the question. I'm sure MSP gets all. Do you have MFA enabled?
Yeah, it's like the first question. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so let me ask that question. You mean like enable at a email level, application level, individual level, right? That question, that one checkbox is 0 or 100%, right? That you would double click down on that. This is where we realize to your point, every MSP, every client is unique from that perspective. There
Yeah.
might be application server that doesn't, for some reason, MFA is not necessarily turned on, but now we can go to that level of depth to be able to say it's not 100%. It is 80% enabled. It is the fact that, by the way, you just enrolled two new email accounts that just got added, but they have not been enrolled in MFA. We'll throw a flag to the MSP and say, hey, folks, you got 3 days of cure period to make sure MFA is turned on, unless you said these are not necessary for whatever reason. Now they're protected in that case. Oh, and by the way, we also see these users have not done their security awareness training, because the biggest mistake always come down to security awareness training, right? So what we're doing there is really helping them to take a look at, I think one of MSP would say, you actually wrap a blanket around my security stack and tell me information that, yeah, I would know if I spend my quarterly audit 40 hours looking at all these pieces, but you now surfacing them before they become a problem. That's kind of how we look at like level difference between traditional versus, right, the digital way of looking, really seeing what's happening. Even this, another scenario you hear a lot is my help desk guy, temporarily turn off George MFA because he needed a diagnosis. Happen all the time. Let's just face it. We all admit it. We all sinner in that case, right? The moment that happened, the call's finished to help desk. Your significant as, hey, can you go pick up the kid? Oh yeah, boom, gone. Forgot about it. In that case, alert kicks in. Think of the car check engine light. Boom, check in. Cork dashboard comes in. That's how we think about those. Now you can come back and say, "Ooh, wow, that could have been lead attack." Close it. That's kind of how we see the difference between analog versus digital approach, right?
Hmm.
Second thing is that, to your point, is, well, how do we know the MSP themselves, right, have the right protocol? Well, that's kind of part of our onboarding processes. We spend a lot of time initially, as simple as, again, onboarding. We actually enforce the importance of having the security stack whole, not just, well, I kind of use EDR, but I don't deploy all the other client. Well, guess what happened? Our compliance dashboard will flash up to say these clients are not even eligible to buy warranty, period. You can't even sell to them unless you have these stacked. And in fact, what we do is the more integration they make into an environment to prove that, instead of attesting I use MFA, connected MFA stack, we will actually give them a rebate and discount to the pricing. It makes it easy. Now they incentivize to connect. And very quickly, I'll tell you that you'll flush out MSP that are really in the security business versus just want to add in an SKU. It's kind of a, it's a root of all evil, right? You got to have good security hygiene. So what we do at the MSP level is making sure they do have good hygiene before they're allowed to even resell a warranty to the client, because at the end they put the risk on us
Yeah.
and the client for
100%.
that.
So okay. So if the environment changes, you use the MFA as a great example because everybody can hopefully pay attention to this.
Yeah.
But like the environment changes and they become out of compliance, whatever that is, it could invalidate this coverage, right? This warranty, right?
So this is where it gets more unique and fun, right? Yes, if we are a traditional company where you focus on pure on the financial side of the equation, right? Because they have nothing to look at the pre-attack perspective. But because of inside our monitoring approach, we can see that the way that we will look at this. So let's just say, okay, let's say it's back to you, right? George's account that's got MFA turned off. I will notify your MSP to say, hey, George MFA been turned off. You have 3 days cure period to remediate
And then
this,
they didn't.
right? Let's say they didn't. Well, guess what? If an attack does occur and it's found out the root cause is your account, then we have the right to deny it. Let's just be very clear on that, right? But if it found out to be Jen's account, who still got MFA on, it's still valid. It's a
Okay.
precision level we get right. It's very unique, because when we start talking, in fact, we've been talking a lot of insure. A lot of insure been coming to us and say, whoa, what are you guys doing? This will help us a lot. I go, yep, this is what you've been thinking about. And I said the requirement is not zero or none, right? It's kind of back to the MFA thing, 0 or 100%. In this particular case, traditional models say, well, George MFA was turned off, even though you weren't the reason why the breach happened. It was Jen's account, right? Then they would deny the entire claim, or fraction of it. They'll say, well, we never deny claim, we deny part of it. But the world that we have, you have that telemetry. I can say specifically, hey, it was really Jen's account. Sue was protective MFA. There was a new type of attack that they were able got in the brief. That unfortunately that happens, right? Things happen. But if it's your account, I can say, well, there was 3 day cure period. How can we make this whole? Now, in this case, since we're channel friendly business, we're still going to make sure we work with the channel partner and make sure they don't look back in front of the client. But this is where the uniqueness that we have in place. We can get down to that level of telemetry.
Hmm. So you're collecting a lot of information. I mean, I know that the privacy law, things are starting to pop up in
Yep.
every state, federal, etc. So like, how do you like handle that part of it then, right? 'Cause I assume you're pulling, I mean, I don't know if how deep does it go? You watching what URLs everybody's going to? I don't know, but like,
The here's the interesting thing. So here we get asked this question every time we come to the conversation MSP. What are you collecting? And first of all, no PII data. Uh,
okay,
I was in the business of restaurant. You can imagine we deal restaurant and toy business. We do marketing. PII data is like the holy grail. You don't want to mess with. I
yeah,
was when we designed it, it was very clear. No PII data because that's just a no touch for.
yeah,
Second is that the way we integrate the MSP security stack is lowest privilege read only. Is a data they already have in the security environment. And we really take a good hold. We look at primarily contrasting and signaling against it. Our goal is not to, have more data than we need to signal for those information. So therefore,
okay,
like we get asked this question, well, but I'm billing information. I go, the billing information has no relevancy for what I need to do to see MFA is on or not.
yeah,
There's no way I would say right now, if you would open up the vault, or data vault, you can look at it. You will not be able to make together a set of billing information to find the end client because we don't need those information in order to deduct to say, is there a potential risk that will lead a leading care lead to an event? So
okay,
and we actually have a lot of conversation. A lot of end partner now are MSSP. Trust me, got to have that grilling process down to like which data point do you get here. Our engineers do this all the time. Like it's
okay.
part of the nature of the business is kind of interesting.
So are you, I mean, okay, let's say I have Duo for MFA, or let's say I'm doing, CrowdStrike, SentinelOne, Blackpoint, whatever. I assume some of this is just APIs between the platform on the left and your system on the right. Is there an actual agent or some piece of software that gets installed on the endpoint?
No agent. That was one of the one of the requirement that we started when we started building the product. We said, because a lot of my job in the past is always making it easier to do business with, right?
Mhm.
And then one of the requirement that I remember the first day Austin, I was talking to him, he's like, the product cannot suck. It gotta be so simple to use, right? So when we gone through with this team, I go, what suck? You got to install an agent. The last thing you want to, oh, here goes into the agent. We got to make it so simple and frictionless. So one of the things the team work hard is, can we deduct enough information out of just a pure existing API without installing an agent? The answer is yes. We
Hmm.
did it.
Okay. So I assume you sign into your RMM platform, your EDR or XDR, or if there's a SOC, SIEM type
Yep.
product in there. Maybe there's a, spam email security type filtering, DNS is another angle. Maybe your Office 365, right? Because there's a lot of security elements there. What else are you like? What other pieces that connect into this?
Well, you pretty much got it all. So you can come work for me now. We can work together
Okay.
with this. I mean, that's really the simple thing except today, right? Now we're going to continue to expand. There's a lot of, I would say, a lot of security, partnership that coming up in the our radar that we've been working with.
Hmm.
Uh, because the goal is for us is that we're not going to get into the business of I would say technology platform, right? That our platform is purely based on using to assess the risk of your environment, your security environment. Like I would take another one we've seen a lot of trends is larger insurance carrier are starting to bring in their own technology. We will give you this insurance if you buy these technology stack. You buy this 10 things.
I've heard this. They're like it's like here are approved vendors on the
Yeah,
other.
approved vendor. to do this, or you use, in fact, someone that actually buying MSSP now. Use my MSSP, and I'm like, can you imagine? You go to a car dealer, you just did a life saving, buy your favorite, let's say, I don't know, what's your favorite car? Pick a car.
Yeah, let's just say a very expensive version of the Mustang. How about that?
There you go. High end Mustang. You walk in the room, and the insurance company say, "Hey, George, love to give you an insurance policy, but here's the deal, though. I need you to go drive that beautiful Yugo out there, three wheels on pink, but you can bring the steering wheel for your Mustang in there, right? Think
No,
about that. That's
I'm good.
ludicrous. It's insane, right? It's now that being said, though, the industry is moving toward that direction because they realize the technology element has a lot to do with securing their finance. Because when it goes to the recovery phase, they lose money, right?
Hmm.
The way we look at it is like, guys, there's already existing investment you have in place. Why not work with the technology partner, connecting the environment, now using those signals to make sure there's a way to prevent an attack from happening?
Hmm.
So with that partnership that we worked on, that where we're sending the signal to within the dashboard, so it's one less place for MSP to go to. We get integration. The one the integration is missing on the list is PSA. We integrate
Okay.
right into PSA, so the billing, I mean, the last thing that MSP, oh, great, another portal to go to, right? We'll just put it right into there. If there's notification, push it right into PSA. So now you have a ticket for that client. Like, to us, that's the way we're thinking about it. Just kind of live within that environment so that we can actually drive more the prevention than the recovery. Because the more we prevent, guess what? The more beneficial it is for our business and the end client specifically. Because let's trust me, nobody is happy when they get popped. They're not going to go, oh, this is so great. I got Cork and I got my insurance company. They can pay me out. Sorry, man. It's like it or not, nobody's happy. You got popped. You're going to be distracted from productivity of your business. But we're there for a rainy day. But our goal is really having that ability to help prevent it. But it happens. We are going to give you immediate funding right away, right access. That's actually interesting. One thing we do is we provide what we call instant fund access. The moment a claim happens, we actually provide virtual credit card to the client of a certain amount so that they can right away tap the funding, because this is one thing we hear a lot from a lot of MSPs, like, um, my client got popped, I got to carry the bill. Now I'm the bank for the next 30, 40 days, 60 days, 90 days until it gets completely covered, right? And at the end of the day, it's a hard conversation. The MSP go, George, remember, like, we did that remediation? It's going to bill you a 3x time. Here's a bill. Boy, talk about, all right, the client got popped. Insurance company came back. Let's just say it was a good one where they got 100% payout. And now you got a bill. Adding salt to injury, right? The wound is close. So the idea there is really having a instant fund access that says, guys, you don't have to worry about who pays for what. Get going. Get yourself a parallel environment build out so you can at least get the business back up and running while the insurance company is doing their thing.
Hmm.
That's
So,
kind of how we look at it.
so how do you choose the level of, like, is there a dollar amount? Like, how do you pick that?
Yeah, there's a dollar amount based on the packages the client have. We keep it pretty simple, because one thing I've learned in the industry is, right, MSP are I've a lot of our partner are one man shop, two woman shop, and they support a lot of client. I've dealt with them in the past, so I know they ain't got no time to have a complex model. We keep it super simple. Most MSP will deploy one package and good. There you go. By default, this is what you get. The end. Like, we're not gonna go, well, can we negotiate? No, guys, let's keep it simple, man. Keep it simple and stupid. Kiss.
So so let me just paint the picture. Tell me where I'm wrong. So I'm an MSP. I go into the Cork dashboard, multi-tenanted, built for MSPs. I
Yeah,
assume that's the case. You put in a new customer, you enter some information, it signs into all your tools to figure out which customer
yeah,
it is in this tool, starts pulling in all the stuff it needs. And assuming that it qualifies, then they'll have packages to buy.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I'll even simplify that further. The
Okay.
login is simple. They go right in to get registered with our team. They get right in, they connect the RMM.
Okay.
And we take it from there, because RMM has a lot of the basic client information, which client tenant it is. Now, we don't have the end client information because we don't want to ingest those. We just said, you name this client, call them Knucklehead 1, Knucklehead 2. I don't care what you name your client to be, right? But then, as long as they're eligible in there, the little button to say buy now. You click that button, Now you can select the package. Now, what they would have to do is put the end client information so we can send a warranty agreement to your client. So the client go, oh, great. George was a great guy. He got me a warranty covered on this. Now, once you accept it, what it does is that one of the questions you get asked a lot is, well, who carry the financial risk? Well, when your client signed that agreement, the financial risk get transferred between your client and Cork. So you as MSP, you're out of the line of fire. That's the that's kind of by design. So
Okay, so basically the hey, this policy exists and the proof of the effectively the contractual agreement of said warranty and what it covers. The MSP is actually not in the
no,
middle.
no. They just
Okay.
the one that was and the great part is, we will build an MSP separately, and then the MSP can decide how they build a client. So this is where the fun part is, right? MSP are seeing 50% to 100% markup. Nice fresh MRR for the business. I mean, that's kind of how we design it.
I like that. What happens if the MSP stops paying their bill?
Well, this is where our goal is we want to make sure our partner qualify, right? MSP stop paying the bill. Well, our job is to make sure the MSP keep paying the bill. Now our agreement is never to reach out to end client, so we will help resolve it with the MSP directly.
Okay, that's fair. That's good. That's what we want to hear.
Well, with
Um,
channel business, it's interesting. We get asked by broker right now. We get called, "Oh, can I come sell this to my client?" I go, "Are you MSP?" No. Well, go find an MSP buddy, then we'll let you do it. That's the
unfortunately, like there are a lot of companies that rep multiple insurance firms, right? So I can imagine that that's happening. So is there a term? Is this like an annual thing? Is it a monthly thing? Like how does that work?
Yeah, so the way we set it up is, just like my old days, right? And I said it before, right? We all have blue blood. All the employee that comes in, one of the first question is, can you cut your vein? Because once you see you bleeding blue, you have a high chance of becoming an employee. No, we do have employee that who will not ecstatic, but the culture is this. It's a 1 year agreement with your client, right? For first year, but we only bill the MSP month to month, right? Unlike most policy, even here, Apple Care, when you buy it, is a 2 year warranty,
Oh yeah,
right?
it is 2 years. Yeah.
Right. But you prepaid the 2 year or
Yeah.
$99 or 199, whatever the price is now, right? You
Yeah.
prepaid the full terms. We decided because we're channel only business and we're channel friendly, we bear the cost of the month to month. So what that does now, the partner is only paying us monthly basis over that 12 months term. After that, it'll be month to month. So
Okay. Got it. So like to get in the door, it's at least a year. And then
yep.
after that, it'll
Yeah.
just month to month after that.
Yeah.
What happens if the customer, like, and this happens, right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Customer shrinks or customer grows. Like, let's say I started off with a startup, 3, 4 people, and now all of a sudden they didn't even get to the 1 year mark. They're now 30 people.
Yep. So no big deal because we're endpoint driven business. So we actually the base package has more than enough than the average SMB environment that we've seen. Anything about that, we just have a surcharge of per endpoint. It
Okay.
goes up, you come down the next month, it goes below, move, it goes up next month. It's pretty. I mean, I would say it's pretty wild having to bring the SaaS world together with the insurance world. I can imagine our 1 year we're trying to figure out, well, you can't do it. Why not? Well, because we pay everything. And this, I'm like, dude, I go, okay, I get it. If this is a fire insurance for my house ain't moving anytime soon, nor is a mountain behind me. All right. But guys, like, how, so you're saying if I add an addition to my house, it increases the risk? Or if I remove part of my house, it reduces the risk. No, like to us, that's why we spend a lot of time kind of making this thing work the way it is. So the model works like a SaaS. It's really a SaaS product or anything else. Increase, decrease consumption, pretty simple. The other question, yeah, well, what happened in my customer churn? It happens, right? In fact, well, our goal is like, yes, even though contractual is at 1 year, uh, you know, in my DNA, we got the data friendly. We want to make sure that partner taken care of. We call them partner and want to make sure they know we'll work with you to figure it out. And we'll roll it over into that client. We can hold. We've done a lot of different things. I'll go. We can make sure the partner doesn't get screwed in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, that I'm sure it happens, right? I mean,
All the
not to
yeah.
go too far, like hopefully there's not another global thing right down the road,
Oh
but
yeah.
that was very
No,
predictable for sure.
no. I hope we don't have another one of those because it really. I mean, look. The good part is you got everyone's figure out how to work remote.
Yeah.
But the reality is like, well, that remote working away for 2 years is pretty rough, not seeing human interaction.
100%. 100%. What about, all right, so let me flip to another one. Um, I'm not saying this is for everyone, but like what happens if your customer like is it just for US? What about Canada? What about international? Like, a
Yeah.
lot of people are now hiring people in different, different countries, or maybe they have multiple office locations. So like how far does it go?
Yeah, so our current offering is North America, which include our friends in Canada. If the agreed entities reside in one of these locations, with remote employee or with remote entity or remote, I would say, endpoint outside of the state,
Mhm.
it's covered as long as it's within the contracting entities inside North America.
Got it. So
We
if a
are in the
headquarters is
process.
in the
Yep,
US and they have a
yep,
a remote employee in Europe, you're okay.
yep, you're okay. Now, there are questions like, well, what happened if my headquarter is in Europe? Let's just pick, I don't know, let's pick Germany.
Yeah.
This international market is coming on soon. So this is probably, you will see something coming in the second half of this year. That's kind of what we're working toward. But the reality is majority of the MSP, the core ecosystem of MSP world is here in North America. So that's kind of why we choose as a starting point.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, you're 100% right there. Um, Over time, I'm sure you're going to build more and more integrations. You already said it, right? So, what happens if you add a new, hey, now we're now requiring you to sign into your XYZ, right? New technology, this other technology, we built a new integration. And you sign in, and if it's been determined that something needs to be remediated, are they going to get like a period to fix that?
Yep. Everything has a cure period based on
Oh,
severity, right? It could be a day, it could be 3 days, it could be 7 days. To us, the uttermost important for us is to make sure that the MSPs is notified, right? I'll take an
yeah.
example. A month back, the whole ConnectWise debacle, right, with the Screen Connect.
Screen Connect, yeah.
Yeah, maybe a small little issue where it hurt, right? So all the partner down on our platform, literally next morning, we was like, oh my God, there's all these different endpoints for each one of the partner that we have, including, that has Screen Connect on it, right? Ryan Weeks and I just got on the phone right away. He's like, dude, this could be a pretty severe one. We need to get out there. So what we did was I literally had our whole sales team stop calling for sales call. Here's what you guys do. We're gonna send notification out to all the partner. Make sure they saw the note. This is like the red alert, right? It's like here are all your endpoints that has Screen Connect that has not been patched yet.
Yeah.
Just want you to know. Now I want every one of you to call the MSP.
Hmm.
And I call, by the way, I don't know about you, but I'm from the older generation. When I say call, it means pick up the phone. I can talk to George in a voice. I've got millennial kids. I was like, well, I am the, no, no, that's not call, like call. So I was very explicit. I goes, call means you pick up the phone, 10-digit number you have to dial, beep, 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 beep. You dial that in, you get a voice and they acknowledge that they have received our email.
Yeah.
Acknowledge that it's there. I was on the call. In fact, some of the MSP go, wow, this is amazing. Like, my SOC service didn't notify me. Thank you. They out there getting it fixed. I got one MSP, a couple MSP that got mad at me and said, Carlson, your platform is garbage because I don't even use Screen Connect. It's not possible. 10 minutes later, I get a call back. Thank you for calling me that because one of my co-managed client put Screen Connect and we didn't know. I said, look, I did my job. I remember saying, I'd rather be wrong than not call you. That to me was, I mean, the one day that I had to tell my board to say, hey, we didn't make any sales that day because but that was the compliment that I can't, I remember Austin telling my team and my son team was like, this is why we're in this business. This is serving the partner community, helping them to prevent from happening. Because imagine, right? That MSP, they never saw that 13 endpoint that was sitting there. They got popped there. Well, I never used it. Well, doesn't matter. It's in your environment. That to us, that's the importance. That's kind of like when we look at this, we even were given question. Well, I thought you guys are insurance and warranty company. Okay, we are the product, but we also look at the left of boob even more importance than the right of boob, the recovery.
Yeah.
prevention and recovery, not just recovery.
I like that. I would argue, and again, future, right?
Yeah,
Like doesn't exist yet. At some point, you guys are now ahead of the analog way.
yeah,
You gotta think that the guys on the other side of the aisle are gonna have to flip to a similar model.
yep. I
So,
absolutely believe in it, and I would say um, many of them have already been in discussion with us because I think I'll tell you that right now a lot of the folks, I'm talking to all the major players out there, right? The way they're approaching this is what I call outside in. Oh, we do outside pen testing. We're just scanning. I'm like, guys, great. I can do that any day. When we dark web scanning, that's all outside in. You need inside out. Inside out is really where the magic is. It's like this. Think of it this way. You get in the car accident, right? Happened. Um, the emergency personnel came up to you and say, "Hey, George, hey, I only got you the time to fix one thing. I detect two things on you. One, you got a big gash on your head visible on your head bleeding out. But also inspected, I can see that you got internal bleeding. You get a choice to pick one. Now, I'm going to want the internal bleeding to get fixed. If you
yeah,
catch me up here, they ain't going to do anything. So if you think about that, to us, the reality is that inside out is great. It is greater than outside in. But if we pair them together, it gets better. So a lot of conversation I've been with these carriers like, look, I can help you. We can work together on this because ultimately the end is about offering the best protection, right, at the lowest premium
hmm,
for the end client. But the rules of the game working with us is you have to work with the MSP. You don't take over the relationship. When things hit the fan, you're not allowed to point finger because we will provide the third party data to make sure that our MSP have done that job. Now, if the MSP didn't do that job, I will also provide that report, right? But that's the piece that where the partnership comes in into play. And I would absolutely believe that even fast forward 3 years from now, the folks that's on the recovery side of the business, if they don't get into the way that we do underwriting, they won't be in business. The premium has been going up right drastically because they you underwrite with the paper form. Oh, do you use Screen Connect? Yes or no. Well, but once you patch it, it's become irrelevant data point. But they're using that data to write the risk. So if you think about that, that's really where the part where they started to realize, but is they've been spending so much time on outside in approach when the inside out is really where you need to be at.
wow, such a great idea. And like, just real quick, is Cork backed by some sort of financial entity? Like, can you
Sure.
afford, like, if you get a lot of accidents, right?
Yeah.
The insurance companies are usually backed by banks, right? Like, how do you make sure that you can cover all of those
Yeah.
incidents?
So what we did is when we put the business together, we actually it's backed by two different level. One is our own insurance company. We actually build our own captive. So essentially, we have a bank that we put our money in it, including a lot of our investment fund in there, plus the premium that we collect, we put them in the bank. That bank is what they typically call loss reserve. So somebody will pay for a certain insurance, right? When something can pop, it comes from that bank. So we have that entire insurance architecture that we built for ourselves in order to back these warranties. So every warranty is actually backed by, you have to back it by currency. And this currency is a insurance company that we created ourselves.
Hmm.
That insurance company is also backed by these A-rated reinsurance company called Hitchcock's. We also work with Gallagher. These are big player in the market to back our insurance company. So in case that piggy bank run dry, these guys steps in, so the warranty is also covered. It's a very unique architecture. You've seen other products similar that you see in MSP space. They will do what they call MGA. So essentially, they would collect the premium, they would take a piece off their margin, and they give it to another insurance company and offshore that risk. We look at that as an option, and it works fine, but it doesn't give us the flexibility to demand to address the demand from our channel partner. Like I'll take an example. We talked about the instant fund access earlier. It wasn't there on day one when we went to market, but 3 months in, our partner says, "Dude, I need that." So guess what? It took us 2 weeks to put it right to market. Because
Wow.
why? The people that insure these warranty is a company entity that we own, and we have to put more capital in it. Now, the only thing we have to do is, hey guys, reinsurance company back here, we just added new feature. Are you okay with it? we're not asking for your permission. We just want to make sure you know this. And they were like, yeah, no problem. Now, in the case it was an MGA type of structure, I actually go through an entire approval process with that insurance company.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that? They will do all the analysis. Now we have to do analysis because of a third party auditor, all kind of things, but it's much faster because we have this flexibility. Now, I'll tell you, the cost of capital is higher, but we want it to be a channel business. This is how we do it. So
That's awesome. I mean, if I didn't ask that question, I don't think I would have known that. So that's awesome.
and we try not to create more complexity because we know our channel partner, right? Our MSP partner ecosystem. We have. I'm a techie as a root, right? We're techie. I don't sell insurance, and I mean, a year ago, I don't even know half of these things I'm talking about. And now I'm learning, right? But it's part of the learning process.
Fun. That's the fun part. Carlson, where do people find more information about the program? How to maybe talk to somebody, check out a trial? I don't know. Just get into the conversation. Where do they go?
Yeah, pretty simple. Corkinc.com, CORKINC.com. If you want to go directly to book an appointment, you go /partner. Really simple. Or find us on LinkedIn. We're all over. So
awesome. This sounds like, again, you have a very original data DNA. You got Austin in there. I like the approach. I mean, quite frankly, if everybody was following a similar blueprint, I think we'd have a lot more channel focused solutions out there. But man, I think you guys have done a great job, based on what we talked about today. And every MSP should be asking themselves, how do I become more profitable? How do I reduce my risk?
Yep.
And if you're worried, if you're mandating that your end customer has an insurance policy and that insurance policy gets less effective over time, that risk now falls back onto you. You should plug that as soon as possible.
I'll even add this. This is even like something that we recently did we have a monthly webinar, right? In the Ryan weeks, and I was talking about this topic. You understand that even if you demand your end client to have a cyber insurance policy, when you fill out that form on behalf of them, the risk is back on you anyways.
Sure.
So I think to your point, part of what we've been trying to figure out is how do we continue to help that? And I'll tell you this, I think over time, sooner than later, you're going to find insurance company will do the very same approach. We do absolutely believe ultimately at the end, it's best of both worlds, is warranty and insurance, not versus, it's an and.
I agree. Carlson, this was great. Guys, this session was absolutely 1000% recorded. This is good intel. Quite frankly, this is kind of a newish. This thing's only been around for since middle of last year, right? So it's still really fresh, but feels a lot more comfortable because it's specific to MSPs in the IT channel. So check out corkinc.com, corkinc.com/partner as well. If you want to actually talk to someone, I'm sure you can find Carlson online as well. But you know what? I'm good at I mean, it's kind of the only thing of its kind right now, right? Out there in the channel.
Yep.
So,
at least at the moment.
Yeah. So. Of course, everybody always exactly. Thanks for jumping on, guys. Thanks for listening. MSPinitiative.com under sessions. You'll find it, on the podcast and YouTube links and all that good stuff. Carlson, I'm sure I'll see you out at one of these parties because you're invited. And
now I don't be invited. I'll be there. Don't worry. I'm a good party crasher.
Awesome. Well, make sure that you come with your best drinking hat on. Everyone else, keep following us back here. We do these twice a week and we're on the road. Go to MSPinitiative.com and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.
Cheers.